Hi, in this video we are going to be creating this simple game, but I think it's not actually a game, but we can still call it a game because at least it's fun playing it, kind of. So basically what we are going to be doing is we have a UL that has two list elements, and what the game is all about is we allow the user to type in new values into this list to complete the five sense organs. We have five sense organs. So, and the reason why we are going to be doing this, why we are going to be creating this game, is because I just created two videos explaining the mutation observer object, and I said in the end of the second video that in this video we are going to be creating this game to practice the usage of this object here. So if you haven't checked out the videos, kindly check them out. I'm going to add the link to them in the description of this video. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. I release videos about web development, and I love JavaScript a lot, so I'm going to be releasing videos about JavaScript. That's just it. Now, to begin, let's see what we are going to be creating. Now, here we have a UL. As you can see, tongue, eyes, then we can say nose, we can then say skin. Notice that when the value is not complete yet, we are having a red border around the lists, and the last one is the I just forgot. Ears. As you can see, after I input the S, we have all are complete. Do you want to restart? If I click on cancel, it remains like that. And as you can see, we have this small div down here that is telling us there are now 5 lists. Spell each organ correctly if not already spelled. So that's just to tell the user that now I've cleared the S. Let me put the S back again. We have all are complete. Do you want to restart? Okay. I know this is not some kind of super special thing that we are doing, but we just want to practice the use of this mutation observer object. So that's what we are going to be doing exactly. Now let us go into the editor and start. This is just the demo for our project, so we are not going to be referencing this like that constantly. And concerning the CSS, I think I'm going to upload the files to GitHub, so you can copy the CSS, because I don't want to touch CSS again, so the video won't become too long. So let me go into the editor. So this is the project that is currently holding that demo. So we're going to create a new project now. So let me just click on this plus new project. By the way, what I'm using here is called SPCK editor, if you don't know what it is, because I'm creating this video from an Android device. So that's why I'm using this. I'm not using VS Code. So I'm using my mobile device to create this video, and I'm using this text editor named SPCK editor here, like this. So if you want to use it too, you can download it from Play Store. It's free, and they have a pro version too. So let me go back to the editor. The name of this project is going to be, let me just name it sample sense organs game, like that. So let me name it sample sense organs game and click on create. Now after creating it, this application that I'm using automatically creates this file for me, this HTML file and a simple CSS file too. I think yes, it has this simple CSS and this simple JavaScript here. But I don't want to touch CSS here because we are not designing. We want to look mainly at the JavaScript. So I'm going to pause this video and update the HTML and CSS, so we can just go over it and then move over to the main div, which is the JavaScript here. Yeah, so I've just updated the index.html file and the style.css file. So let us just quickly go through what is inside the HTML and the CSS files. Now here we have the head tag. This is the HTML tag, and we set the language to English. And we have the head tag here, and we defined the character set and other things like that, and the viewport, and this title, let me change it here to using the mutation observer object, and here we linked our CSS file to this file here, and we have this h1 using the DOM mutation observer object, and we have the h2 complete. The h2 is complete the list of sense organs. So this is just we want the user to follow this, and we have a UL here with two LIs inside of it. The UL has content editable true, which is going to make the content of this UL to be editable, so we can actually edit the content of the UL, which is why we can actually click on it, and like I did in the beginning of the video. And this div id info is the one that we are going to use to display info to the user, and by default what is going to be there is there should be 5 organs, complete the list. So when the page is just loaded, the user is going to see this, there should be 5 organs, complete the list, it's editable. So the user can just click on it, and the user will update the list inside it, and we are going to do some simple validations like that. So the main thing we want to discuss here is using this mutation observer. That's what we want to see about. And here I have this script here. So it's not necessary that you have it, because this one I'm using it because I'm coding on my mobile device. It's because I'm coding on my mobile device, and what this script does is that it allows me to use the console inside my mobile version of the Chrome browser. Basically there is no console present in the mobile version of Google Chrome or any other mobile browser like that. But because I code on my device, my Android device here, and I need to use the console, so I included this eroda.js. You can search for it on Google and view the GitHub page and read about it on GitHub. So basically eroda.js is what allows you to use the console on mobile. And lastly, we have this main.js here, which is here, and we linked it to this index.html. And the CSS is just to style everything. You can go over it, just some simple CSS like that. So this is where we have to do the thing to make some really cool stuff with the mutation observer object. And as I said before, if you haven't watched the 2 videos where I explained mutation observer, you can check the description of this video for the links to them. So let's actually go into the browser and see. We've not written any JavaScript for now, so we just want to see what's happening there. Okay, this is the demo, and I named the project sample. Okay, it's not yet here. Let me refresh it, and here we have the sample sense organs game. So let me open it in a new tab. So I have this now, so I can just click on this index.html to open it. So let me zoom it if you can't see that. So it's showing me the files that are present in the folder, because that project is actually a folder, and we have index.html, main.js, and style.css inside it. So let me open the index.html here, and this is what we have at the moment. Using the DOM mutation observer object, complete the list of sense organs, and this is the div with the ID of info. As you can see here in the DOM, we have a div with the ID of info here. There should be 5 organs, complete the list, it's editable. And this is the UL that has the 2 LIs. Now the first thing we want to, what we want to do, as I said before, based on this demo that we have here, is that whenever the user enters something like this, we want to validate each list if it's actually one of the 5 sense organs, and if it's not, we wrap the li in a red border to show that it's not correct. As you can see, the bar is removed now. So that's what we want to do. So let's come back here. So going back to the editor, the first thing that we have to do is to get this UL, the parent UL, this UL here. So let's get the UL. So most of these things we've done it in the videos where I explained Mutation Observer. So let me just say const list element is equal to document dot query selector. And what do we want to select? We want to select the UL like that. So this is going to select the first UL in the document, and after that we want to add an observer to this UL, so we can actually get reports from the observer whenever there is a change made to the UL. And the type of change that we want to detect in this UL is change in its child nodes. Maybe we added a new li, or we removed an li, or one of the li's has been updated. For example, when I entered EA when EA was originally in the li and I now enter R, making it EA. So we also want to get reports for changes like that. So the first thing we have to do is to create the observer. So I can just say const observer is equal to new mutation observer, and it takes a callback function, which is, so I'm not going to be explaining these things here because I've explained them in the video where we discussed the mutation observer as a whole, so you can just check that out. Now we are going to take our first parameter here to be the mutations, just like we did in that tutorial there. And now we want to loop through each of the mutations array. So I can just say, so if you don't, I'm saying it again, if you don't understand what I'm doing here, kindly check out that video. And I think the video is kind of too long, but it's well explained there. The topic is well explained in that video. So I can just say I want to use for off loop here, which were the for off loop was introduced in ES6. So I can just say for mutation, sorry, let me say for let mutation of mutations. So this is the for off loop. So it's just like writing mutations dot for each and stuff like that. So we are looping through the items in the mutations array. Now we want to get if the type of change that was made to the element is character data, which means we want to know if the change is actually a change in the text present in the li's, like that. Before we do that, let me actually link the observer to the UL that we created up here. So I can just say observer dot observe like this, and I can say list element comma, and for the options, let me just pass them straight here. So I want to detect changes in the child nodes of the li. So I'm going to say child list, and that's going to be true. Also, I do not want the observer to listen for changes in the UL only. I want it to listen for changes in both the UL and all of its descendants. So I'm going to set sub-tree like this to true. And lastly, I want to detect changes in the character data. So I'll say character data to, I'll set character data to true to like this. And now this is what we have. So just to test it, we can now say console.log mutation, just to test out what we've been writing like that. So let me reload this page. Now if I check the console, there is nothing here at the moment. So let's make some changes there. Let me just add the dots like this. So as you can see, we have mutation record, which is the type of object that is passed as an array to the callback function that we include in the constructor. So like that, I don't want to explain that here again. As you can see, added nodes and the rest, I've explained that in the tutorial, so you can just check it out. Now everything is working so fine, so let's continue. The first thing that we want to do is to check if the type of change that occurred is a change in the character data in one of these li, which means that we want to detect if the change is maybe from I is like this, we change it to EYE, we remove the S, so the change is going to be character data then. So I'll just say if type is equal to character data. What do I want to do then? So if the type is character data, I want to get the target. What we want to do is we want to get the current value inside of the li. Remember that if the type is character data, which means we have made a change to one of the li, the target is going to be the text node inside of the li. So the li is going to be the parent of that text node, and for us to get that li, we need to first get the target, which is going to be that text node. Then we now have to get the parent of the text node by writing what we're going to be writing now. So first, let's get the target. So I can just say const. So const, then I can just say target is equal to mutation. So I also explained this in the tutorial, but basically this is called object destructuring. The target variable is going to take the value of mutation.target like that, and after that we want to check if the current value inside the target, which is the text node. So we want to get if the current value is actually one of the sense organs that exist. So to do that, let's first define a sense organs array up here. So sense organs like this is equal to so is equal to, the first one is, let me just put ears, then we have eyes. Bear in mind that I'm putting everything here in lowercase because we are going to compare the value inside the target here with each and every one of these value. So before we compare it, we are going to first change, maybe it's in uppercase here or lowercase. We'll first change everything to lowercase, then we'll now compare it with the values in this array. So we're going to do that now. We now have skin. We now have, after skin, we have the tongue, and finally we have the, oh, just forgot the last one. Finally, we have the nose. So now, after getting the target here, what we want to do is we want to compare the value. Remember that the target here is going to be a text node because the type is character data. I explained that in the tutorial too, so you should check that video out if you haven't. Now you can now say if we want to get if the current value is one of these sense organs. So we now say target dot data. Target dot data is going to return the current value of the target because target is a text node. So you can say the dot data. Assuming target is not a text node, you can't say dot data. But because target is a text node, and the reason why it's a text node is because the type is character data here. So target dot data dot to lowercase. So we want to actually convert it to lowercase like this. So what we now want to do here is we want to compare this target.data to lowercase. Let me just cut it. We now say this sense organs array. We now say if sense organs dot includes, and what the includes method does is that it checks if a given value is included in the array. So if sense organs dot includes, then let me paste it in here, target.data to lowercase. I can now do something here. So basically I'm saying the current data in the target, after it has been changed, we converted it to lowercase, then we now check if it is included in this sense organs array, because everything here is in lowercase too. That's why I converted this one to lowercase. So we can actually, we are not considering the case, maybe it's in uppercase or lowercase. We are not considering that. So what we want to do if it's included in it is that, okay, let me just put this block here for now. We are coming back to it now. Let's quickly let's go back to this CSS file. There is something that I need to point out there. Now look at this. We have li.error, which means whenever we add the error class to any li, we get the border is going to be, it's going to have a border of a red border that's going to be 2 pixels wide. This 0.2 rem is actually 2 pixels because I set the font size of HTML to be 10 pixels. You can search about rem on Google. So basically when I add the error class to any li, it's going to make it to have a red border. Now what we want to do here is that if the current data, that is the value that we have in the li, after it has been changed, it's after the li has been changed, we are going to fire this callback function here. So after the value has been changed, if the current value, which is what we are doing here, if it is not included in the sense organs array, so I have to put this not here. So if it's not included in the sense organs array, I want to do something, and what I want to do is I want to say target dot. Remember that the target is the text node inside of the li. So to actually get the li, we have to use target dot parent node like this. So target dot parent node dot class list like this, class list dot add. Then we now say error. Now what we're doing here is we are saying the parent node of the target, and as I said before, the target is going to be a text node. The parent node is going to be the li, and that li, we are accessing the class list of the li, the classes that the li has, the li belongs to. Then we are now adding the li to have a class of error, which means it's going to have a red border, and that's going to take place if the value in it is not one of these values here, which means the user has not entered a correct sense organ into the li. So let's now do return here. So This is because I don't want to use else in this statement here. I don't want to use else. I'm using just if. Now, if it is not included, if the value is not included, we add the error class. If it is now included, what we want to do is we want to check if the error class is currently with the li. If it is there, then we now remove it. So I'm saying we are going to have if like this, and then say if target dot parent node dot parent node dot class list dot contains. What this is going to do is it's going to check if there is a particular class associated with a particular element. Remember that the parent node here is going to be the li. So we want to check if the current li, that is, this everything starting from this point here is not going to be fired if the value of the li is not included in this sense organs array as we have here. If it is now included, the statement in the if this thing here is not going to be fired, so it's going to continue from this place here. Now we now say if the parent node has the class list of error. So if target of parent node dot class list dot contains error, what we want to do is we want to remove it. So I can just say target dot parent node dot parent node dot class list dot remove. So the remove method is going to remove the specified class. So we can now say remove error like this. So this is going to remove the error class from it. Now I'm referencing this target.parent node multiple times here, so I want to store it in a variable. So let me just say const changed li, let me put it as capital letter, is equal to target dot parent node here. So it's going to be equal to target dot parent node. So I now want to change every occurrence of target dot parent node here to changed li. So let me just target dot parent node, we have one here, so I'll just say changed li there, and here too, and here too. Sorry, so we have changed li, and here too we have changed li. So we are now going to preview this in the browser, changed li. So basically, if the data, we are checking if the type is character data. So if the data is actually one of the values inside of this array, if it is not, if the data is not one of the values inside this array, we add an error class to the li and we return, which means it's going to stop the function here. But if it's not, it's going to continue. So we now say if the current li has a class list of error, then we want to remove the error class from it, like that. So let's check out what's happening in the browser. So let's refresh this F5. Now we just want to test this out. So I think there's an error here, because I noticed that the error class is not being added to the li elements. I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to pause the video and check the code for errors there. Thank you. So I'll get back in few minutes when I get the error. Okay, so I finally got where the mistake is. It's a very silly mistake. It's because have been writing the same thing for too long, so I omitted one thing I was supposed to do. So after looping through the mutations array, I have to get the type before accessing it here. As you can see, I have just typ here. I have not defined this type, so I have to write const like this because I want to get the type of change that was detected by the observer. I did this in the tutorial, so I think it's because of that I've gotten addicted to writing the if type. If type is so const type is equal to mutation like this, so it should work now. So basically this type variable, constant, this is a constant, so this type constant is going to be equal to mutation dot type because I'm using object destructuring here. I'm going to link an article I wrote about object destructuring in the description of this video. So let's see if everything is working fine now. So I've now refreshed it, and currently in the console there is nothing there. So let me put h here. Now it's working. As you can see, I just added h, and because ish like this is not one of the items in the sense organs array, this li now has a red border because we added a border to it in the code, and when I remove the h, it's back to normal. So everything is working fine. So let's go back to the editor. And here we are. So the next thing we have to do is, like at the moment, the value we have in the info, in the div with the id of info, is this. There should be 5 organs. Complete the list. It's editable. So the next thing we want to do is we want to get, before moving on to that, let me come back to the main.js. Now what I want to do is this. We want to get if all of the values in the li. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we are going to check if there are 5 li's at the moment. Like we want to get if there are 5 li's. That is, right now we have just 2. I have just 2 li here, li. So we want to get if there are 5 li's, and if there are 5 li's, we are going to change the content of that div.info. So how do we do that? So the first thing we want to do here is we want to get all of the li's inside the ul. How do we do that? So let's define a constant. I'll say let li's, or let me say list items, is equal to list element. Remember that we defined the list element at the top, which is the ul. So I'll say dot query selector all like this, and what we want to select is the li like that. So after selecting the li's inside this ul, the next thing that I want to do is I want to convert it to an array, because query selector all does not return an array. It returns a list of nodes, which is called node lists in JavaScript. So I want to convert the node list to an array. So I'm going to cut this out like this. Cut. So to convert it to an array, I'll say array dot from like this. I can now put Control V. Sorry, Control V doesn't work here, so I have to paste it like that. So array.from is going to convert this node list to an array. So we can now use array methods like every and all other array methods. You can just call them on this list items now. So what I now want to do is I want to check if all the values here, like if all the values inside the list elements one after the other, if all their values are inside these sense organs, and if that's so, we want to give like an alert, but it's not an alert actually, it's called a confirm window, like that's what I call it. So basically we want to get the text inside of each list item. So I will now say list items. I just want to reassign it. So list items is equal to list items dot map. And if you don't know what map does, map creates a new array from an existing array. So it's going to look through each and every item in this array that is calling the map, and we can now manipulate the items one after the other, and we return a value from the function that we pass to it. Whatever we return from the function is going to be in the position of the current item that we are on in the loop. So let's see. Let me just quickly explain it better here. So let's say, for example, we have an array 1, 2. We now call map on this array. So when we call map on this 1, 2 array, we have to pass a function to the map. So let's say we pass a function that returns. The function takes in at least, well, it's not at least, but the first parameter in the function is going to represent where we are inside of the array, because the map is going to loop through each item in this array. Now when it loops through it, let's say currently it's just starting and we are returning, let's say, okay, the function we pass to the map method can take in one parameter or two. I think it's about 2 or 3, I'm not sure, but the first parameter will represent where we are in the array. So let's say we now return a plus 1, where a is the first parameter inside the function we pass to map. So the map is going to create a new array, and that new array is going to be 2, 3, because we are returning a plus 1 inside the function. So we are going to be doing something here like that. So let me just say function, and like this. So let me just say list item. So the list item is going to represent one item inside of this list items array at a time. This list items array at a time. So list item is going to be one of the items in this one at a time. Then whatever we return from this function is going to be put into this array. So let's now say return list item dot inner text dot to lowercase. So lowercase like that. So from this function we are returning the inner text of each and every list element that are inside this inside this UL. So we are now returning the inner text of it, then we are converting that inner text to lowercase. We are now storing it in these list items. Now you can read more about this map method on Google, you can search about it. So the next thing we have to do now is to actually check if all of these list items now is now going to be a list of the values inside the li. Let's say, for example, at the moment, if this is what is currently inside the UL, the time that function is fired, the list item array is going to contain tongue in lowercase, comma, eyes in lowercase. So that's how it works. So we now want to check if the items in this array, if all the items are actually present inside this array here. So I'm going to say this sense organs here. So I'm going to say sense organs. Okay, before I do that, I have to store it in a variable. Let me say const organs are present. Organs are present is equal to sense organs dot every. Now every is another array method, and what this one does is that it checks if every item inside of the array calling it, this sense organs is the array calling it in this place. So it checks if each and every one of these item in this array, if they apply, like if they return true based on the function that we pass to it. So let's just pass the function to it first, and the first parameter of this one too is going to represent the organ that we are currently on inside the loop. So like that. So if we now want to say return, because we have to return a value from the every too, we now say return value organ dot, sorry, I said organ, not organ. We want to say this list items. I'm going to explain what I'm doing here now. List items dot includes organ. So what exactly am I doing here? A quick explanation. What I'm doing here is that this sense organs array, we are looping through, we are calling the every method, and what this every method does, as I said before, is that it checks if each and every item of this sense organs array, if they return true based on the function that we pass to it, and the first parameter of the function that we pass to it is going to represent the current item that we are on in the loop. So let's say we are currently on the first item, so this organ is going to be equal to the first item inside this sense organs array, like that. So we are now saying if this list items array, if it includes the organ, that is, we are going through each and every item in the sense organs array. We now want to check if that item is inside the list item. If it returns true, organs, if everything like that returns true, organs are present, this constant is going to be true. But if just one returns false, because this list items dot includes returns true or false, so we are returning whatever this one returns to the every method. So if everything in it is true, then this one is going to be true. If only one is false, then these organs are present is going to be false. You can also read more about every on Google. So we now say if organs are present, what we want to do is, if organs are present, we now say let confirmation be equal to confirm, and this confirm here is a function, built-in function in JavaScript that allows you to confirm stuff from the user. So let me just say, you are going to see how it works now. All are complete. Do you want to restart? So do you want to restart? You can now put question mark here. Now we are saying all are complete. Do you want to restart? Let's see what's happening in the browser before we move on. Or before we test it in the browser, we want to say if confirmation. So if confirmation, and bear in mind that this confirmation variable here, in it we define this confirm, and this confirm is going to bring up the a modal, a modal that is going to ask the user to click either cancel or OK. If the user clicks OK, the confirm function is going to return true. If the user clicks on cancel or does anything other than clicking on OK, the confirm function is going to return false. So let's say, for example, the user clicks on OK, this confirmation variable is going to be true. So we now say if true. So if true, we want to say, we want to change back, we're asking the user if they want to restart. So if they now say okay, they want to restart, which means we have to return the UL to its former state. And to store that former state at the beginning of the document, that is when the page is just loaded, we want to store the current HTML of the UL. So I will say list element HTML. List element HTML is equal to list element dot inner HTML, like this. So that's that about that. And this list element HTML is going to contain the inner HTML, that's the current HTML that is inside the UL before we start doing anything at all, when the page is just loading. So if the user says okay, I want to restart, we now want to set we say list element list element dot inner HTML is going to be equal to list lm HTML that we defined at the top right now, which is the HTML that is inside the UL before the user even does anything on the page. And also, okay, that's just it for now. Let's test this in the browser and see what's happening. Now let me just enter nose, then ears, and also skin. You can see after I entered the n, this is what the confirm function does. All are complete. Do you want to restart? And as you can see, I have okay and cancel. If I click on cancel, it will remain like that because I'm not doing anything. But remember that I said if confirmation, which means if confirmation is true. So let me enter the n again. If I now click on OK, as you can see, the HTML of the UL has been set to what it was originally when I loaded the page. As you can see, let's go back to the editor. Now we said if confirmation is true, listlm.inner.html should be the listlm HTML. So I know this video is becoming too long, so let's quickly do what we have to do and just end it as soon as possible. I want to do that. It's becoming too long. So everything we are doing here is if the type is character data, as you can see here. If the type is character data. Now what if the type is not character data? What do we want to do? So we want to do something else, surely. Now this is if the type is character data. But now we have to do something again. We want to check if the number of LIs in the UL, like after any change is detected, we want to check if the number of LIs in the UL is 5, because there are 5 sense organs. If it is 5, we want to write something else inside the info div. Remember that we have this info div here. There should be 5 organs. Complete the list, it's editable. So we are going to change what is inside that info div. If the li is less than 5, and even if it is more than 5, we're still going to change it to something else. So how do we know if it is 5 or not? So remember, this is the closing parenthesis for this if type is character data. So we now want to check for the number of LIs that are inside the UL. To do that, we have to get the number of added nodes and removed nodes. So how do we do that? Let me just do something here to the top. Yeah. So I said type, then added nodes, then removed nodes. So basically, these added nodes and the removed nodes, they're actually going to give the nodes that were added or removed from the li or to the li, like that, if nodes were removed or added. So, and as I said before, what I'm doing here is called object destructuring. So added nodes here is going to be equal to mutation.added nodes. As you can see, I'm putting this in a pair of curly braces, like that. So I can now say, if I want to check the length of the added nodes and the length of the removed nodes. So if a node has been added or a node has been removed, we want to check for something, which I'm going to be saying later. So let's just say, if to know if a node has been added or removed, I need to say if added nodes dot length is greater than 0, which means there is one or more added nodes, or removed nodes. Remember that removed nodes and added nodes, we already got their value at the top, so you cannot just say removed nodes like this. If you do not want to get the value at the top, you have to say mutation.removed nodes, because we said let mutation here, which means mutation is one object inside the mutations array. So watch the video that I said I will link in the description to understand better. Now removed nodes dot length is greater than 0. So if added nodes is not 0 and removed nodes removed nodes is not 0, which means a node has been added, one or more have been added or removed. So we want to do something, and what we want to do is we want to get the length of the number of LIs that are currently inside the UL. And to do that, let's say const like this, list length is equal to list element dot query selector all. So query selector all, then the li dot length, like this. So query selector all is going to return a node list, and we can now say dot length to get the number of elements inside the node list, like that. So we now want to check if the length is not 5. So if the length is not 5, basically we should have just 5 lists, because there are 5 sense organs. So if the length is not 5, we want to do something. So let's go on and say if list length is not equal to 5, like this. If it's not equal to 5, we want to do something here, and what we want to do is that we want to change the content of that div with the ID of info. So to actually get it, let's define it here. Say const info element is equal to document dot get elements by ID, and the ID is info, like that. So we want to get the elements by ID, and the ID of the div is info. I hope you remember that div with the ID of info. It's the div here, this div here. So we want to change the content when the number of li in the ul is not 5. So we say info lm info element dot inner text. So info element dot inner text should be equal to this. And what's it? There should be 5 lists. There should be 5 lists. List items. 1 for each organ, like that. So after doing that, we also want to say we want to return. And the reason why I'm returning here is that I don't want to write else, because I still want to put something here. So I will now say info lm.innerText, which means if the length is now 5, I want to say info lm. Here we are saying if the length is not 5, do this. So if the length is now 5, we want to say info element dot inner text should be equal to what? So let's put there are now 5 list items. So spell each organ correctly if not already spelled. Spell each organ correctly if not already spelled. So that's what we want to do. And the reason why we are using return here, I said it before, if the length of the li's in the ul is not 5, so if there are more than 5 li or less than 5 li's, we are going to do this. We are going to put the content of the info div to be there should be 5 list items and then we return. Because if we do not put this return, it will, after finishing this if, it will come back to this one and then execute this one. So this one will never be seen by us, even though JavaScript will carry it out, but after finishing the if, it's going to execute this one immediately. So this one is going to override this one. So if the length of the li's in the ul is not 5, if it is not 5, we want to do something, and that we want to set the content of the info div to be this, and then we are putting this return. And this means that if it is now 5, because if it is 5, this one will not even execute at all, it will just come straight to this place, and then we are going to say there are now 5 list items. And one last thing that we have to do here is that we also want to change the content of the info div if the user is restarting the game. Remember that restarting the game means it's just like the user is refreshing the page. So let's get the content of the info element too, just like we got the HTML of the UL. So I can just say const info element text is going to be equal to info element dot inner text, like this. So info element dot inner text. So we can now reference info element text here. Where is it? So if confirmation, we also want to say info element dot inner text is equal to info element text, like this. So if the user clicks on OK, when that confirm window pops up, when like that. So we are going to set the content of the UL to be the initial content that we are getting here at the top. Remember that everything you see here is going to be executed immediately we are loading the page, because this one is not inside a callback function. So the elements, the HTML that was initially in the UL will be put in it, and also the initial text that was inside the info div is going to be put into the info div. Now let's preview it in the browser and see what's happening. So let's finally refresh. So let me first test this in. Let me put J here. As you can see, we have the red border around the LI. That's the first one. And here, as you can see, there should be 5 list items, one for each organ, because currently we have just 3. So when this is 5, this thing will change. So let me just put nose, skin, and then ears. As you can see, all are complete. Do you want to restart? If I click on cancel, you can see there are now 5 list items. Even if I now remove one of the LIs, there should be 5 list items. If I click enter again, there are now 5 list items. If I put something that is not there, there will be a red border around the LI. So I hope everything we've done in this project is understood, and I hope this helps you understand the mutation observer object better. So that's going to be the end of this video. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, consider subscribing, because I release videos like this, and I love to, because I love JavaScript a lot. So subscribe to the channel, and you can also share this video with people, because I am just starting this channel, starting out, and looking up to some people that I love to watch videos on their channels too. So I wish I can have an audience like those people. Yeah. So subscribe to this channel, give me a thumbs up. Give the video a thumbs up, not me. So give the video a thumbs up, and bye for now. Thank you.